What's up, fight fans? Mainman Mademan here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing. What up to the fam? What up to everyone in Mainman Mademan's boxing form, man? Hey, look, man. So the thing is this. Word on the curb, man. Turki Alasheik coming off that phenomenal Riyadh season that came out February the 22nd, or should I say last Saturday, in which we had a whole rack of good fights, fight fans. One fight in particular, Hamzah Sheeraz versus Carlos Adames. Now, this went down for the WBC 160-pound title, which was held by Carlos Adames. And we know that that fight ended in a split draw. Adames goes back home with his belt, as well as a good payday. And Hamzah Sheeraz goes back home with the payday. However, still kind of running in place because he didn't win or lose. And most unfortunately, he didn't make a loud enough statement around the boxing world to perhaps win a bunch of fans. We'll say to Hamzah Sheeraz's credit or defense that it looks as if that he injured his hand early on in that Adames fight. As post-fight, he came out showing pictures on social media of his injured hand. So this is maybe gives a lot of reasons why he fought the way he fought. Just going in there, basically jabbing most of the fight, keeping range, keeping distance, doing a lot of outboxing, not taking many risks, not taking many chances, not doing a lot of inside fighting. And I thought it looked a little peculiar, you know what I mean? I thought it looked a little uncharacteristic of Hamzah Sheeraz. And now seeing him with this injury, well, that kind of make me go, well, I'm willing to definitely give him another opportunity to see if he can win me over as a boxing fan, because he was injured. So for him to glide to a draw with an injured hand, that's pretty good, you know what I mean? So basically each man went back home, maybe a bit more richer, but from a popularity standpoint, still kind of running in place. Now, during this fight right here, it looks as if that a little bit of a scandal kind of broke out, right? Because some video had surfaced of Turki Al sheikh, looked like he was on the side of the ring, and which fans thought was Turki Al sheikh giving the judges scorecards to Hamzah Sheeraz and his corner and letting Sheeraz know that he is down on the judges' scorecards. And so now the BBBOC, or the British Boxing Board of Control, has now came out and stating that they didn't see no harm done here. They didn't think that Turki Alasheik pretty much had enough time to see all of the judges' scorecards and relay this information to Hamzah Sheeraz between rounds. And this is also a similar position taken up by none other than the WBC. According to Robert Smith, the general secretary of the BBBOC, who was there at the fight, he gave a quote to these boxing scene is sharing a quote from him. And he says, and I quote, "He didn't come anywhere near the scoring table, so I simply can't see how he could have known what the scores were. Even if he did approach the scoring table, he would have been moved on." He goes on to say that there are also 3 scores, not 1, and Sheeraz wouldn't have been 2 points down on all 3 scorecards. He goes on to say that another factor to consider is the amount of time that he would have had to do that between rounds. The judges' cards are collected at the end of each round, and the scores are then separately transferred to the running totals. The process takes more of the minute break. It's nonsensical to suggest that he would have been able to see the score without being noticed and then have time to relay his findings to Sheeraz. Either he believed that Sheeraz was losing and conveyed that opinion, or he seen the score on one of the television broadcasts and was relaying that, end quote. So once again, everyone, the BBBOC just doesn't believe that there was enough time for Turki Alasheik to run around to the judges' score table, which they claim that he never approached. And if you look at the video, they don't see him approaching that judges' score table. And they wouldn't have had enough time to tally up the score, him to then take the score over to Sheeraz, pass it on, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And I can kind of understand it. And they even got a bit of a timeline of where Turki was kind of throughout of those moments. So he got up out of his chair with 30 seconds remaining in the 10th round. And he says, before he arrives at Sheeraz's corner at the start of the interval before the 11th. So he got into Sheeraz's corner by the start of the 11th round, the break before the 11th round. And so what that means is that how would he have had enough time then if he went from his chair 30 seconds into the 10th, before the 10th round ends, and gets to Sheeraz's corner at the beginning of the interval, well, the scores from the judges' score tables would not have been tallied in time, or because it takes majority of that break for them to kind of get that done and then pass it in. So it's saying that, it wouldn't have basically been enough time for Turki Alasheik to go from his chair to Sheeraz's corner, and he never stopped past the judges' table, so he don't know what the score is. It wasn't enough time for all of that to pretty much happen, everybody. Now, the sanctioning body, the WBC, has also issued somewhat of a statement out towards Boxing Scene, or Boxing Scene has also picked up a statement from the WBC. Mauricio Suleiman, the head of the WBC, has to say, and I quote, "I didn't notice the incident at the time. I don't think that he knew the scores, but was instead expressing his opinion that Sheeraz was behind. The scores are handled by the BBBOC and the WBC supervisor. I was just behind them, and I never saw anyone approaching to see or inquire about the scores." He goes on and says that every fight, I see promoters and managers scream, cheer, and instruct their fighters. Promoters and managers have always told their fighters they're behind or they need to win the next round. Mickey Duff used to do it all the time on Saturday. Frank Warren himself told Sheeraz he needed to win the next round. It is not unusual, end quote. Now, they also have exactly what Turki Alasheik said to Hamzah Sheeraz. And according to the Boxing Scene article, he says, and I quote, 2 points. You're losing 2 points. You must, and they couldn't say what he show what he said. You must blank him. You're losing 2 points, end quote. I mean, I don't know what the big deal about that is, fight fans. That's not helping or hurting anything. Now, I know this is not going to pass the smell test, perhaps, for a lot of boxing fans. They're going to say, hey, I'm not buying that, man. Something fishy went down here. And I think this more so falls on Turki Alasheik. He should understand that the position that he is in and currently takes up in the sport of boxing, he has to be far, far away from issues like judges' scorecards and refs and so on and so forth, because there's already been a bit of quirky things that happen on some of these Riyadh season cards, fight fans. We know we've seen some judges' scorecards look a bit off. We've seen some actions done by some referees in some of these fights that seemed a bit off as well. And the last thing that Riyadh season needs right now is to have the front of not looking like that they're being honorable or they're being on the up and up with everything. You know what I'm saying? It's already bad enough that they want a lot of fighters to already go over to Saudi Arabia. So something like this would not help their cause. I mean, recently we just heard Gervonta Tank Davis come out in a recent interview stating the reason that he doesn't feel like he wants to go over to Saudi and fight, say, a Devin Haney or a Shakur Stevenson or anyone like that. And that is the fact that Turki Alasheik or someone from Turki Alasheik's side relayed to Tank Davis that, listen, that Shakur is our guy or Devin is our guy. And yeah, and Tank felt some kind of way when he kind of heard those words, and he just figured like, hey man, I'm not messing with that, because nah, man, when you say that they're your guy, that means I have to go over there and get that knockout. Or you have the moment when Bob Arum stood there in the middle of the ring and claimed that he wasn't bringing any more of his fighters over there to fight because he felt one of his fighters got robbed on the cards. These things keep popping up when it comes to Riyadh season, and is not good. We do not want boxing is already crooked enough. We don't need to add any more crookedness into the sport of boxing. So people are going to look at things like this with a side eye. And most importantly, with all of these things that's happening, it's starting to paint a picture. And that ain't good. You know what I mean? Now, so we're going to see how this all kind of works out. Now, in my opinion, man, does it really bother me much what Turki did? I don't think so. I mean, my thing is this. Even if Turki did tell Hamzah Sheeraz, let's just say he knew, right? He knew what the score was on all 3 cards, and he told that to Sheeraz. What would it help him? Down is, I mean, he can't just, presto changeo just by I'm telling you that you're down. Like that changes anything. The fact that you're down does just mean that you're down. If anything, it gives a bit more transparency and says, you know, well, if he's down on if he's down 2 points on these cards, then when we see these final cards, it's going to be interesting to see what they look like. You know what I mean? I just don't think that it helped or hurt it. I mean, I ain't gonna say hurt, but I don't think that it helped anything for Hamzah Sheeraz by letting him know what the score was. I mean, there are, to me, greater offenses in the sport of boxing, in my opinion. And I rank this one kind of very, very low. You know what I mean? Maybe y'all have other reasons to say, well, man, I think it's wrong for this reason. And you can put that in the comment section. But for me, it's like, it's very, very low of the offense here, because so what if he knew what the score was? You know what I mean? I mean, now my thing is, even if he was up and Turki Alasheik may have said, hey, you're up on the cards, you know what I mean? Don't take no risks, don't take no chances. You know, at the end of the day, it's still the other guy's job to still have to close that gap and level those cards or drop his opponent or whatever the case may be. You know what I mean? Hey, I mean, listen, there was even a point in time in the sport of boxing where we were debating on whether or not open scoring would have been a good idea. And that is announcing the scores after each and every round. You know what I mean? My deal is, it's just kind of like, I don't see what the big deal of it is. You know what I mean? And so, but I do understand though, if people say, hey, it just adds to a picture that's being painted, man, that's starting to not look good with all of these different situations constantly happening. You know what I mean? So I definitely can understand that point of view. So it's on Riyadh season. It's on Turki Alasheik to mop these type of things up. Once again, I'm really much not impressed with the jobs that the refs doing. Just recently in that Zilly Zhang versus Ajit Kabayel fight, yo, some real suspicious stuff went down in that fight with the ref. You know what I mean? And this was on their more recent cards. So hey, man, they gotta clear these optics up, man, and they gotta appear on the up and up in order to continue to attract more fans and as well as attract more fighters. And it's just, that's how it got to go. So hopefully things will improve in that aspect. There will be nothing that comes behind this fight, fans, because the WBC don't see no harm, no foul. So it is what it is. Thumbs up on the way out. If you didn't hit it on the way in, share. Rock those bells. We get up real soon, man. To the next video, fam. Peace out.